So we are German, we are going to start on time because we like doing that. Philip, good morning also. Thank you for joining us virtually here. It's our great grand pleasure to celebrate Amatria's birthday with all of you. This is the 6th birthday. How many of you have been here for one birthday? Keep your arm up if you had 2 birthdays with her. 3 birthdays. 4 birthdays, you sir. 5 birthdays. And yes, it's number 6 now. So this also means that we have been in this beautiful, beautiful building for 6 years now, because she was coming into existence in the birth chamber over there right before the opening, and then in a wonderful event for the opening of Luddy Hall, and Amatria was just part of that hall. Should I use a microphone? It's okay, online. Okay. So today is her 6th birthday, and we have some very special guests. We have our dean, Joanna Molenchik. We have potentially others online, and we love to have you all here because we love to have Amatria bring art and science and engineering together. We have had in previous birthday parties, events, we had a lot of people writing poems for Amatria. We had people composing music, being inspired by Amatria and bringing music and art here to Luddy Hall. Today we will have a dance performance. We never had that before. It will be first, and I'm very, very much looking forward to it. You might have seen the agenda for today. We will have a brief welcome and review of what happened so far in the last 6 years. We will have a talk by Philip Beasley. We have an amazing announcement that Ray is going to do for us. And we will also have then a musical performance by Sophia Long, which is very, very unique and special. And I'm glad we have her here. Andreas will present tabular visualizations of all the many sensors and actuators that Amatria has in her beautiful, beautiful sculptural elements. And we also have, as a great guest of honor, David Ebbinghaus here today with one of his creations that was just presented at the Refashion Trashion event last weekend. So we have it right here in Luddy Hall, but we also have some of his sculptures, illuminated sculptures over in the corner. And then, of course, there will be cake, which fortunately nobody found in the fridge last night, so we are going to enjoy it. And then we hopefully have an opportunity to connect, because we want Amatria to serve as a nexus where people get to invent how human and machine intelligence get to live, learn, and innovate together. And I think we are not there yet, but I think it will come quicker than some of us might think or hope for. And it's just wonderful to see you all here. So going through the slides, if you want to know more about all the many people which make Amatria work, it's myself, Philip Beasley, of course, and he will have a few words in a moment. It's Andreas, who has been with Amatria for a long time, and he's also going to show some of the VR demos later today, in addition to Kate. It's Sophia, and she's prepared, she's ready. And it's David right here. So you can read about the people that it takes to make something like this film. And I think I give it over to Andy. Thanks so much for being here.
All right, hey everyone, I'm Andy. This is where we reminisce a bit about the history of Amatria. We were fortunate to give a ton of demos and tours to external and internal visitors over the past couple of years. And so this is what we kind of go through and look at some existing pictures. Also, if you all want, why don't we come a bit closer? You stand awfully far away from the screen. If you want to just move a little bit closer, might be a nicer viewing experience. So we did have lots of guests in the past couple of years. We had the governor here in 2019, and of course for our dean, we gave a tour last year in February. Many of those tours were given by Ezra, who is somewhere here taking pictures, and myself, which is always a great pleasure. This is still one of my favorite pictures of Amatria. This is from the opening night, and many of you will probably remember that. The lighting was all special. It turned out it was dark. It was April 2018. This one was the first birthday celebration back 5 years ago now, already with amazing, I guess, blueberry cake, similar to today. Yeah, you can see a ton of students being here. It must have been a lot warmer because we were wearing definitely summer clothes that day. This one was later that month with the first lady at the time, as well as some other fellow visitors. I think this is Peggy from School of Architecture and Science. Yeah. This is the government's visit. We of course also gave a tour to then President McRobbie and our Dean Acharya at the time. This year is the Women's Colloquium of IU, which came to visit in October 2019. You can see we were quite active before COVID hit, about 6 months later. This was our old colleague Medina, who now works at Reagan Street. This year is a tour for data science online students. As you know, we have a rather large data science cohort, and many of them are online. And this was them coming in for a campus visit, and of course we had to give them a tour to show them what they were missing by not being invited. The Eskenazi Art Museum sent a delegation to us for a tour in February of 2020, as you can see here. And then we had a ton of other tours for which we don't have pictures. A really important thing here was that Amatria vessel cleaning was happening in 2021, so about a year after COVID, where some of these vessels that you can see up there that are filled with oils and other fluids were taken out and cleaned just to make the appearance nice, you know, keep up the aesthetics. Here are just some more pictures. My favorite tours are always the ones that involve high school and middle school children because they are just incredibly curious. You know, most adults look at it and they like it, but middle-aged, like middle school children actually have legitimate questions that I sometimes have real trouble to answer, which is a good feeling. So you can see that I think this was from Harmony Middle School, and they were just amazed by it. Pretty fun. Of course, in 2020 we had the second birthday celebration, and because of COVID, it had to happen virtually, which was a challenge. But I think we worked from it rather well. You can see we have a ton of people joining here for that event. Also, the third birthday celebration was also still online in 2021. You can see here. As a special treat for the third birthday celebration, Peter Kiedle was performing a song that he had written for Amatria, right here about where David is sitting. And then here, this is a visualization that was shown by one of our collaborators. In 2019, we had a team come down from Toronto, Canada, to actually do a glow up. You can see the still setting up a stage. And so we had a ton of action for about 3 weeks. It was pretty amazing having that team back about a year after Amatria had been first unveiled and built. It was good to reconnect. You can see it was just a legitimate construction site again here. Here is another tour that we gave in the August of 2021. So after Luddy Hall was open again and everybody came back to the office, you can see everybody still masked up for the Division of Student Affairs, kind of at the beginning of the semester to mark the beginning of the fall. Here we had a tour for Center of Excellence for Women Technologies, so CWIT, affiliate students. You know, it's always the funny pictures when people are just looking up, kind of like at all of these eclipse photos that we're seeing this week, of people just looking up, which is almost more interesting than photos of the eclipse itself. We try to do a fair amount of outreach from Amatria. This year is one of the first Thursday festivals. You can see Medina here again, sadly left us last year, just being out there with a moth, I guess a dendrite probably somewhere around there as well, and postcards, etc. In June 2022, as you know, over the summer, we oftentimes have research experiences for undergraduate students. And of course, when those folks come in, we love to show them Amatria as well. Many people come to Luddy Hall and they walk by Amatria, but they don't know what Amatria is. They think it is some kind of art sculpture, but there's a mysteriousness around it. And so we do these tours just to explain a little bit to them what's happening. Just last summer in July, we hosted the ISI conference, the International Society for Science, Geometrics and Informetrics, which was happening at the IMU. But of course, we had to take them over here during the day for a meet a little Amatria tour. These people came from all over the world, so that was really cool to have everybody here and showing this art exhibition. All right, with that, it is now time for Philip Beasley to actually address everybody here. Philip, we are very, very happy to have you here. I'm gonna bring you up on the screens. All right, Philip, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. And then it's all you.
Colleagues, thank you so very much, and thank you for that introduction. And wonderful to be able to think through all of these recent years and to see how very full and rich this community is. And colleagues, let me say what a deep honor, even a delicious sense it is to be back with you. There are such esteemed, creative, genius colleagues in this community amidst you all in your gathering. And honored Dean, thank you very much for being there with us as well. Please feel the greetings from my community in Toronto and Waterloo, and indeed the international collaborators that have brought this project together. I'm going to be speaking for just a little more than 10 minutes, and I want to share a reflection that is rather solemn and at the same time, I hope, quite joyful and full of opportunity. I think we can say that life today feels almost unspeakably uncertain. When we think of what our culture has achieved, but also what it has done, and the turbulence of the world and the radical uncertainty of the future, saying words not just about change, but also about climate collapse, then some of the most serious questions inevitably come. How shall we behave? How shall we respond? Shall we concentrate on battening down the hatches and on sheer survival, on closing things down with the best of intentions to make things responsible and accountable and controllable? Or should we concentrate on releasing and opening and reforming and including every possible being and every possible dimension in our world, opening to include? Those strategies seem to have such radically different vectors and such different impacts, and both of the strategies I've named can be felt and seen to come from a deep, deep sense of responsibility. This is a current question, how we respond, that will steer our future. I think it resonates with an earlier question as well, a question called Fermi's paradox. This is a question that was framed around 1950 in the wake of the Manhattan Project, at a time when deep thinking leadership was shell-shocked about the power that had been unleashed in the termination of the Second World War. And the paradox, the question that Enrico Fermi, a physicist associated with the project, raised was, is life usual or unusual? If life is possible through the entire universe, then where are all the forms of life in the universe? Why don't we see them? Why do we feel so very, very alone and exceptional and unique, and indeed so very vulnerable that we need to build walls and shells, closing and bounding ourselves? I want to raise 5 voices in something of a sequence, 5 intellectual parents for the Amatria project that builds very cautiously, perhaps hesitantly, some hope that tries to help resolve that paradox. Do we close or open? Is life natural and inevitable, or is it so rare that it must be closeted and held? These voices lead up to the particular model that's embodied in Amatria. Now, we know what a microscope is, but we also need those kinds of instruments for large and complex systems like our swirling, turbulent world as a whole. Amatria is a kind of macroscope. It's a test bed that folds large and complex systems into itself and that makes those subtle and immersive things visible. Amatria could help to answer Fermi's paradox, and perhaps it can contain some contributions to the current question of whether it is better to be open or closed. The five voices that I want to invoke skip across 300 years. Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, Enrico Fermi, Ilya Prigogine, Jeremy England. Those five voices I'm just going to very quickly gloss on. When Isaac Newton, working some 300 years ago, created his equations, he allowed us to find an exquisite control of vast systems. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Visualizing the world this way as a vast number of individual bodies, they reach out across a beautiful clarity of empty space. And the confidence that that equation is complete allows space to be a kind of enabling emptiness. The void surrounds this meaning. Newton created a kind of a shelter, allowing equilibrium, peace to prevail inside the necessarily closed system of inquiry. And if a crystal seed is there, kind of an order, a very, very extraordinarily ordered thing, then we know that it will fall apart inevitably into dust, spreading out equally through the entire universe. That gives a kind of a peace. The peace means that disorder is only very temporary. The most exquisite equilibrium and peace is our future. I'm quoting perhaps the second law of thermodynamics in saying that. That absolute zero is our inevitable destiny. Albert Einstein, 150 years afterwards, had the most beautiful intuition, though, saying that the universe is not empty and that we're not each alone. Instead, the universe is immeasurably full because space is not a void at all. And time is not something separate that begins and ends. Instead, space and time are just two ways of seeing the same thing, that is, the immersive, all-involving universe of a continuous gravitational field. Like a fluid that riddles and pervades every possible corner, and molecules and organisms like us and planets alike act as lenses within that field, bending the space-time field around us. That coupling of space and time and the influence of gravitational bodies holds immense, unthinkably large energy. We hear the equation, all known energy or potential energy equals mass times the speed of light accelerated by the speed of light, E equals mc squared. And perhaps we don't have a complete intuition for what it means, but we know that this coupling has unleashed unthinkably large power and potential and ability in our shaping of the world. Enrico Fermi, the Italian physicist who moved to America, meditated on this and found ways to harness that energy in nuclear fission. He won the Nobel Peace Prize for that in 1938. And his meditations went much further than energy production, though. He engineered key parts of the atom bomb, destroying worlds, and also setting limits that he hoped and others hoped could guarantee peace. And that perspective gave him an extraordinary range of thinking, where he also meditated on the possibilities of life arising. Might the kinds of energy and inspiration implied by understanding of nuclear fission mean that civilizations can reach out across space-time and communicate? Extraterrestrial life reaching out. Or might that power also mean sheer annihilation, where life forms simply collapse? The precarious state we're in seems to retrace that question today amidst the turbulence of planetary climate collapse. Will life find renewal or extinction? Fermi spoke this when he framed this question in 1950, just shell-shocked after recognizing the power of the atom bomb. And he offered tremendous doubt. Will things fall apart or will they live? But 15 years later, Ilya Prigogine, the Belgian physicist and chemist, returned to Newton, and he observed that worlds did not need to be closed at all. Instead, seeing that every practical world, that is, our world under the sun, for example, he formed a very different equation by including the disruption and the contribution of external energy, for example, the flow of the sun into our worlds, the solar wind. He said that we can see standing waves forming all around us. They last. The dunes, the oceans, the flux, the spinning. They do not fall apart at all. They are effectively eternal. The standing waves that he saw are very different than the beautiful, transcendental, calm equilibrium of Newton. They stutter and they shift and they break, but they also rebuild and they hold on and they keep building. The standing waves of dissipative adaptation as energy flows out and fluxes has an extraordinary toughness and durability. They last and they create the world. Our world, a fundament. And the contemporary physicist, now in Boston, Jeremy England, describes an even more radical sense in his current building on Prigogine. Lovely book is called Every Life is on Fire, explaining how thermodynamics creates life. He describes how those standing waves are not just landscapes where we live, but they are our living bodies and even our minds as well. We, as living organisms, are the inevitable result of the flux of open systems. Life is the inevitable result of that open, fluxing universe. England seems to resolve Fermi's paradox by saying that if we embrace the open universe carefully, respecting our bodies, respecting each other, but staying open and curious and wondering, then we will be carried by the world and we will flourish and we will grow. It is not necessary to seek closure. Amatria is founded on just that kind of message. Rather than closed boundaries, Amatria explores how the forms that we make can often offer radically open maximum reaction faces, rather than, let's say, the closed gloss-faced minimum reaction surface of a raindrop. Amatria is based on that same mass, expressing the maximum reaction face of a snowflake. In that kind of message, Amatria embodies a particular kind of artwork that is an example of design. Disegno is an old word for design. It speaks of the tradition of making proposals for change. Amatria is an act of disegno. It embodies a kind of change that encourages opening, and sharing of our walls and our shells, embracing the world. Microscopes have helped us in the past, and macroscopes, folding in large dimensions and whole systems, can help us in the future. Amatria is a macroscope. We are surrounded by challenges where the future has become radically uncertain, and we need examples that can reassure us and inspire us. Works of art, by expressing ways of seeing, can help to create possibility in the world. And particular kinds of works of art are also framed as practical projects. There's a possibility. That possibility is now. The Disegno of Amatria is like that. It offers a model of change that can offer substantial contributions to our communities and to our world. Now, current research on Fermi's paradox, meanwhile, seems to agree with some ambivalence with this position. That is, that indeed some forms of life throughout the entirety of the universe do certainly collapse, but others prevail. And instead of showing the kinds of crystalline, intensely concentrated forms and qualities that would make them easily detectable, calling out to us and forming conversations, those forms of life in current research about Fermi's paradox turn instead to the priority of homeostasis, balance. Homeostasis involves dissipation of energy and buffering of energy and balancing of energies, relaxing and easing strains. Brittleness is not compatible with homeostasis. Resilience is compatible with homeostasis. They often go very, very slow, forms of life, with gentle murmuring and lively curiosity, perhaps forms of humor, perhaps ambivalence, washing to and fro. Prigogine's Standing Waves and Jeremy England's inevitable vision of life seems to offer a very substantial answer. So the model of Amatria is quite modest in many ways. It's a place inside a building, reaching out over the campus. And many dimensions could flow out to explore its implications. It could be built, it could expand, it could really work as a collective testbed. Building on its parents, Newton, Einstein, Fermi, Prigogine, in England, the model of working that Amatria offers is quite substantial. And my hope on the 6th birthday is that the living sculpture testbed of Amatria might offer a strong and living contribution. Thank you.
The questions online after you have grabbed a piece of cake, but now we come to the next and very, very important piece. So it's our great pleasure to have Ree Palmer-Easton here and Tom Bewley. And without Tom, Amatria wouldn't exist. Without Philip, she wouldn't exist. It takes a village to get this all. Without our leadership, it wouldn't exist. So Ree, please, it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ree Palmer-Easton. I serve as the Assistant Dean of Development and Alumni Relations here at the Luddy School. And I am so excited to be here this morning to announce the establishment of the Martin Bewley Amatria Support Fund, an endowment that will support the future of Amatria. Named in honor of donors Jane and Pat Martin, this fund also honors the work of Tom Bewley, who retired as Assistant Dean of Development in 2023 after 9 years of service at the Luddy School. Jane and Pat graduated together from the IU Kelley School of Business in 1972. Both went on to lead successful careers in their respective fields, Jane in bicoastal venture capital and Patrick in advertising. The Martins have a long record of service to Indiana University. Jane was a founding member of the Luddy School Dean's Council and has served on the IU Foundation Board of Directors as well. Pat served as the co-chair on the Eskenazi Museum of Art Board. They both share a love of art and appreciated the opportunity to make the lead gift to bring Philip Beasley's work Amatria to IU in 2018. Jane and Pat also wanted to honor the retirement of Tom Bewley, who led development efforts for the Luddy School and whose work was critical to the success of the Amatria installation. Tom is with us today, and we are so thankful for all of his work to support Luddy. The Luddy School plans to engage other donors to give to this fund, which will support the future of Amatria, including annual maintenance and the development of a student training program to execute at peak. Jane and Pat sadly could not be here with us today, but we are so grateful for all of their support. They wish to thank both Connie Horner and Tom Bewley for their advocacy of the project and public art here at the Luddy School. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Joanna. Thanks go to all of you. Without you, Amatria would be just a sculpture. But I think we really want it to be used in classroom settings. We want there to be test bed kits that actually Philip has been developing with the University in Delft, Technical University in Delft, to really help us understand how this future can unfold in a desirable, fun way. We are now coming to the next item on the agenda. And Sophia Long, actually, I encountered first at a wonderful event that Jane was hosting. And Jane and Pat really would have liked to be here. And I hope they can see us online or watch the recording later. So please be surprised and amazed by Sophia Long. right. Thank you all for being here. The next item on the agenda is more than just an item. It's a good friend, colleague, and just amazing designer. And it's David Ebbinghaus, and he has two of his creations over here. But he also just recently presented on Refashion Trash this last weekend. And so he brought another creation. And it's just wonderful to have both of you here.
Thank you. So what am I doing here? I got asked to help assemble all these myriad elements into the sculpture. I'm a local artist, and a friend of mine called me up and said, you need to come and help them assemble this. I said, I'm kind of busy, I don't know. And then the next day she called me up and said, where are you? Get over here. So I couldn't ignore that. And so I met Philip right away and Tatiana. He put me to work organizing teams to assemble items to make the modules to put all this together. So I just want to illustrate some of the concepts that Philip was touching on about Amatria being an interface for energies and communities. So I'm a local person, not part of I went to IU and graduated, but I'm a part of another community from the university community or the arts community. So by bringing me in on this project and Philip being very generous and open and sharing, he gave me some of the broken and extra pieces, some of the mylar fronds, and so wow, great, free material. So I had no idea what I was going to do with that, but I was working with recycled materials. One of the other communities I'm involved in is this Trash Refashion Show. It's a fundraiser for the Center for Sustainable Living, and every year we take old clothes and remake them or make things out of trash. Like one of my signatures is to use pop tops. So I've woven together pop tops to make chain mail kind of effects. And every year I get three outfits. So Nikki was just walked for me last week. So you can see the shoulder parts there, the mylar. That's one of the elements in the sculpture. And I also then used, I was using the recycled beverage containers. So I made this sculpture using the extra ones of these cones which go inside, and I lit them with LEDs, sort of like a filter feeding sea urchin or something. And then the fronds, which come out of cylinders that are the center of receipts from the grocery store. Your grocery receipts are wound on a spool, and those are recycled from that. So this is part of the whole recycling idea, but it turned into a sculpture. So metaphorically, what's happened is it's budded off a part of itself to make another seed for another sculpture. Then there's a smaller one next to it, which is, that's in turn a bud from the previous one. So metaphorically, this is the idea of communities interfacing and the energy that gets created from that, like my positive response to the materials and the possibilities. And then this can extend one time, another time to many iterations. And each time it's going to take a different form depending on whatever the materials are that are available. Like in this case, I'm trying to deal with, Phil talked about the climate crisis. So all these plastic bottles are a big problem. They're very convenient, but they all end up by the side of the road and in the landfill. So by me trying to use them as instead of a despised material, seeing them as like an opportunity, giving them a new life and a metaphoric message. So, and some of the energy of Amatria then has been injected into this trash and refashion. And I've used this in hats several times. I've used this cone structure in hats. I've used the mylar, like in Nikki's outfit, as like a feather, kind of a feather substitute. Many of my hats have these. They're so active, they're really visually engaging. So some of the energy that's transferred through Amatria, transferred through me, then can bloom in another context, which is this trash and refashion. And then that, of course, has its own outreach and its own agenda, and that furthers in another way. So that's just to give you some idea of how this isn't just a thing. It's actually like Philip was saying, it's a lens through which energies can be focused. So I'm just, for my particular example, you can see how it goes. Here's a sculpture expression of it. Here it is for another community. So thank you for your attention.
Some of you might wonder how many sensors and actuators Amatria actually has, and we just have a visualization for you for that.
All right, to finalize the event and to get to the cake, we want to unearth an application that we developed back in 2019 for the first birthday, and that just for the day, specifically, we brought back to this display here in front of Amatria. This is Tavola. Tavola is a visualization of Amatria in 3D and all of these sensors and actuators that can be found inside of the sculpture. This application was developed to get in very, very close collaboration with the Beasley team. A very fun time that I remember that. I also went to Canada a few times to like join them in the magical workshop, and it was just an amazing time. So Tavola, I'm gonna show that here, and feel free, by the way, to try it out in this big touch display. Tavola is a application that shows Amatria here in 3D. You can see this is the floor that we're currently standing on. You can see that there's a small preview out here. This is where the display screen is at. It's a big touch display, so you can zoom in and move the camera. We have a low polygon version of the sculpture suspended here in space. You can see with some moody lighting. And then we have a colorful overlay of microphone and infrared sensors, as well as light emitters, speakers, and also motion vibrators. So these are these mods that you get here. So the application allows you to explore the 3D layout of the sculpture and where all of the electronics are situated. So I invite you to, maybe with a piece of cake in hand or after a piece of cake, coming over and having a look. And then one more thing that we wanted to show today is what's actually happening on the back end of Amatria. Amatria is powered by a variety of computers, and they're all in this little closet over there. If you're a student and you've worked in that room before, there's a chance that I ask you to come in and interrupt you and go into that closet. Of course, it is very impractical to take all of that into that closet and looking at what's actually displayed there. So we took some screenshots and then a video here in a second to showcase what's happening. But what's happening in the background of Amatria now is a so-called influence engine model, which has a suite of layered behavior algorithms that are running in the back end here that create kind of influences that are then enacted by the sculpture. And so you can actually see that in this video here that Nicole and I took yesterday, where Nicole is playing with the sculpture with the infrared sensor right over there where the team is standing on. And then you can see that the behavior engine model is reacting in real time. So as Nicole is playing with the sculpture, we see that this array of sensors is being triggered, and then we see the reaction across the sculpture happen. In fact, that's how the sculpture still works. Later, when we have cake, I would love to just demonstrate a little bit of how you can actually play with the sculpture. All right, and with that, I do think that it is time to open the buffet. And thanks everybody for coming, and happy birthday, Amatria.
Thank you. Yes, the desk cake, please. I believe, Philip, are you still there? There might be questions for you. People might like to talk with you. They all have to kind of bend down to see you.
Is there any cake?
There is cake, yes.
Virtual cake.
Types of cake. There's chocolate cake, and what's the other cake?
That's lovely.
I'm just gonna leave this recording until you guys are done. Just click leave whenever you're ready to.
Okay, we will do that, and we probably cut it off, but I think it's nice. To just,
Yeah. Actually, you should be good. We have another event.
Okay. So, yeah. I think we should. We are going to photograph the cake cutting, Philip, but I think you might have some others coming to you here.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. And yes, it's just congratulations, man. It, it means that we fix it and induce and create sonoluminia, and we can I mean, it's just
She's got a.
this
Turn around and turn. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so three things we now have the part. So that's what maintenance and also training. So that's a huge. So that's what the other one is. We have some that's what that's so what we have.